Well, fellas, it seems that the Battlefront series is well and truly cursed. After two rather disappointing remakes by EA, many Battlefront fans, myself included, having spent God knows how many hours playing these two games on my PS2, were excited to hear that the original Battlefront games were getting a re-release this year by a company called Aspyr. Now, Aspyr had released the Tomb Raider Remastered Collection earlier, I believe either last year or the year before, to pretty high praise. So things were finally looking good for Battlefront fans. But then, March 14th, release night arrived and... oh no. It appears that Aspyr saw the 1.7 million views and 86,000 thumbs up that their trailer for the re-release received, let alone all the reaction videos that came along with it, and in their vast wisdom, only had 3 servers available on release night, at least on PC. With 64 players a server, that's a little over 200 spots actually available. With 10,000 players trying to play all at once on release night on Steam, needless to say, the servers were not up for that task, all 3 of them. But Aspyr has slowly been adding more and more servers. However, even if you do get into one of these servers and don't get stuck in menu purgatory, you'll find a very laggy, unplayable mess awaiting you. And even if you do somehow get a stable connection to one of these servers, you'll find the default settings for respawn set to a hot 100 on these 64 player matches. That's not even 2 kills a player, which means that matches last a mere 2 to 3 minutes, if that. Oh, but I'll go play a custom match. Well, custom servers are pretty much useless, so yeah. Now, keep in mind that multiplayer was the main draw of this re-release. Many of us back in 2004-2005 playing Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 simply didn't have the capability to play these games online, because that's when online multiplayer was really in its infancy. But now, in the year of our Lord 2024, we do! And the EA games were a far cry from these original games. We were finally supposed to get that OG Battlefront experience, and we get this mess. But this re-release's problems doesn't stop right there. You see, this is a re-release, not a remaster. Kind of. The only true updates Aspyr did to these games was have AI upscale the already existing textures to 4K. Everything else remained the same. So on the surface, that sounds pretty solid, right? Makes the textures nice and crisp and much less muddy. From my experience, if you're looking at a wall, building, or like the side of a vehicle like an AT-AT, AT-ST, whatever, it looks pretty good. But none of the character models' geometry were updated. So you're just wrapping these 4K textures around these early 2000s PS2 character models, which leads to these characters still looking like, well, early 2000s PS2 models, but a little bit clearer. Now, this truly wouldn't be an issue, but apparently Aspyr did 0 optimization on these textures, because the collection demands 65 gigs of space on your hard drive. I'm sorry, what? These literally 20-year-old games rival the file size of the most modern games, and it's somehow almost 20 gigs bigger than Elden Ring! Elden Ring! The game with the huge, expansive open-world map. These first and third-person shooters from 2004 and 5 are 20 gigs bigger than Elden Ring? And I think this is a pretty good symptom of the problem. It appears that Aspyr just wanted an easy cash grab. So you have AI upscale the textures, slap them in the game files, and just ship the game with 3 servers on release night. Easy cash grab. I'm sure they did see that the trailers and reaction videos to their game garnered millions of views and tons of positive reactions, so they knew they had a hit on their hands. All they had to do was just release the game back on Steam in a slightly improved form, but they couldn't even do that. Yes, the textures are upscaled, but nothing has been touched. All these old bugs from 2004, 2005 are still present. They're still just absolutely dumb AI when you're playing offline in the single player mode, which is how I had to play because I couldn't even really get a connection or get a slot in a decent server for online multiplayer play. It's literally unplayable. So I had to play offline in the single player mode in quick action just to get some B-roll for this video. And yeah, like, the game runs fine on my PC. The HUD is much more usable than the original version, which you can still buy on Steam for like $11 right now. You know, the HUD's made for, you know, modern machines and stuff, so it looks a bit better. It's a little bit more playable in terms of that, but again, nothing's been improved. There's still these random bugs and dumb AI from 2005 are still very much present here. You'll find the AI just standing around doing nothing, and I remembered this happening in 2005 on my PS2, but yeah, they couldn't even be bothered to just tweak the AI a little bit or fix some of the random invisible objects or walls that, again, were present in 2005. None of that's been touched. And it's just, what? And even the new content, or the bonus content, as they say on their Steam store, that's included in this collection isn't even new content. It's just previous DLC that I think only Xbox had back in the day. You can get Kit Fisto, Asajj Ventress, and a couple of Battlefront II map DLCs that are just Battlefront 1 maps ported over and given a bit of a facelift to Battlefront 2. That's all that's included. It's nothing new, right? So yeah, it's neat for someone like me who played on PS2 without an internet connection, didn't have any of these DLCs back in the day, to hop on, play these new heroes, and look at these maps on their Battlefront 2 version. Like, yeah, that's fine and dandy and all that jazz, but there's still just a lot of very weird things and bugs that happen with this game. For example, the sound is pitched on just the most random of things, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower. The map loading screen for Battlefront 1, that iconic loading screen, the pings are just like a little bit lower than they once were. Which is weird. Why is that changed? The TIE fighters in Battlefront 1, their engine sound is a little bit off of pitch too. And then I noticed in Battlefront 2, the female voice sounds are just a little bit higher than normal. Like they're comically high pitched now compared to the original version of the game. And I don't know how you screw that up, because again, all they did was upscale the textures with AI. Maybe they gave it free reign over the audio engine too or something like that, but that's weird. And also too, there's these random it's like screen tearing but for sound. These random sound effects are just blown out of proportion sometimes when you're playing. Sometimes it's like a grenade or a blaster going off. It just blows out my my headphones, and I don't know what's going on there. So they took a game from 2005, two games in 2005 and 2004 that, like, they were pretty janky games back in the day, right? I mean, they had their own issues. Like I said, those bugs are still all very prevalent here in this re-release. The dumb AI, the weird geometry of the maps and such. It's all very much still here. But then they added more bugs on top of a 20-year-old game. And, like, okay, if you just want to do a re-release where it's you upscale the textures and then just release the game as is, cool. Like, you can just say, look, we just upscaled the textures, the game's exactly as you remember it 20 years ago, we didn't do anything else. Fine. You do that, charge $20 for it, cool, whatever. But this game isn't $20, fellas. This is a $35 game. Well, two games for $35, where minimal effort was put in. They're just now starting to add in more servers to where you can actually play the game online, which that's the main draw of this collection, is that you can play it online now. The original versions, which are at this point again still available on the Steam store, they don't have multiplayer support. You have to do your own, witchcraft there to get that to work. But this does. You could go straight in to the multiplayer menu. Well, you're supposed to be able to go straight into the multiplayer menu, find a server, and jump into the action. But you can't because it's a mess online. So the main purpose of this re-release is pointless because it doesn't work. And all the texture upgrades and such, you can download mods that does it better. And I'm sure there's mods out there that improve the character models too, to where they're not, 2005 PS2 character models, right? I'm sure that's out there somewhere on the vast spaces of the internet. So you're paying $35 essentially for a slightly modded version of the game that you can play offline, where it's a little bit crisper looking with the textures, or you can pay $12, or oftentimes it drops down to like $3, depending upon the sale, to buy the original Battlefront 2 on Steam, and then go download some free mods. Spend a little time on the Googles and the forums to figure out how to get multiplayer to work, and then you can have exactly what you have here for likely a third, or again, if you catch it when it goes on like those $2 Steam sales, a tenth of the cost of this re-release. So, yet again, Battlefront fans, we have been screwed over by the games industry. Maybe one day, fellas, we can find a game developer that can take the original Battlefront 2 formula, which is just, Battlefield, but with Star Wars skins on it, and make a proper Battlefront game with modern graphics, modern mechanics, and not screw us over. But yet, today is not that day. Needless to say, avoid this re-release. Buy the original version, download some mods, you'll be a much happier person. So, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, and all that jazz. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday and a wonderful rest of your week. I hope to catch you guys in the next one.